Today is September 6th, which to the vast majority of the population, that doesn't really mean much. That is definitely not the case for the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. The area code of the entire UP is 906. So this date, 9/6, has officially become 906 Day, which is a day where Yoopers are encouraged to celebrate all things Yooper. I can think of no better way to celebrate than to sit down with my friend who is the owner and creator of the Yoopershirts brand, Mr. Jeremy Symons. I've known Symes for almost 8 years, and his passion for what he does and Yooper culture is nearly unmatched. But don't just take my word for it. Let's chat it up. Okay, welcome to episode 6, which it's perfect that this is episode 6 since it's 906 Day. And it's not too often that I can say I'm in the building, but I'm in the building right now. I'm in Yoopershirts headquarters on 3rd Street in Marquette, and I'm here with Jeremy Symons. Jeremy, thank you for coming on to the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thanks for asking me.
We have a ton of stuff I want to talk about, so I'm going to just jump right into this. So right before we started recording, you let me know that 906 Day holds a very special place in your heart. Why is that?
Yeah, I was raised by a single mother. I'm the youngest. I have 3 older sisters, and that's my mom's birthday. And it's
Awesome.
A special day. It's interesting after all these years, realizing it's 906 and it's the same day with my mother.
Very serendipitous.
I wouldn't be here without her. She's awesome. She's my inspiration.
Absolutely. So you grew up in Ishpeming then, right? That's your hometown?
Yep, I was born in Ishpeming.
What was it like growing up in Ishpeming because you grew up in the 80s in Ishpeming? What was it like growing up on the West End in the 80s?
Yeah, I was born in 1979, so growing up in Ishpeming, it was great. I had a lot of friends. We rode the streets of Yoopershirts on our bikes. And,
okay, a lot of bike stuff.
Yeah, climbing up in the bluffs and exploring the land and whatnot. Playing basketball.
Yeah.
I played hockey too a lot,
Sure.
so I was into hockey. So a lot of that, growing up with 3 older sisters and my mom, and me as the youngest.
You need that escape.
Yeah, I had to fight for mine, But yeah, no, I had a great childhood growing up in Yoopershirts and a lot of great friends.
Very cool. Now, so I know that you graduated high school in '97, but I think a little birdie may have told me through high school you may have dabbled in some music stuff. Did you have a little bit of that type of stuff? I don't know if you want to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean most of my childhood I played hockey and then I got into basketball and then somehow I got into music,
Okay.
And hip hop actually,
Sure.
I was always writing poetry and stuff like that. One of my friends used to play or still plays, he's a guitarist. He plays piano, keyboard, everything. So he would make these beats, and then I would take my poetry and rhyme over them and create music. Back in when not many people did it,
right? Well,
and recording on tape.
Oh, okay. So you're really throwing it back.
Yeah, our first track was on tape. Yeah, which was probably
awesome.
97, 98.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a great preface to what the majority of our conversation is going to be about, and is just art, creating art. You've kind of had that artistic kind of side always. It's always been a part of you. Mm-hmm. But so when you graduated in '97, where did life take you after high school? Because I know you moved a couple different places and you kind of moved around a bit.
Yeah, right after graduating, I went to near Palm Springs in California, and I worked for my aunt and uncle. They owned a Jaguar repair shop.
Okay.
So I went there and helped them do whatever they needed, deliver vehicles, pick up vehicles, pick up customers, bring customers to their businesses, wherever. And then after that, came back to Marquette. I was just there for the summer, went to Northern, didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Surprise. So many people
taking, just the standard classes, going, what am I going to do? And I don't really like these classes. They're not very fun. Yeah. So
sure.
That didn't last long. I just kept bouncing around pretty much through my 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a lot of people do. But that's interesting that you mentioned that you worked for your relatives at this car dealership, because now you being a business owner yourself, do you see, or do you realize maybe some of like the lessons that you've kind of taken from that and working for them and like applied it to what you do on a daily basis?
Most definitely. When I stayed out there, I lived with them. So it was just my aunt, my uncle, and me. And my uncle was probably was 35 years older than my aunt. So he's an older guy.
Yeah.
And really good businessman. So I would drive to work with him early in the morning. I'd have to get up, and he would give me a ride home too. So we had a lot of times to chat, and I saw how he worked, and he was a huge influence on on how I look at business and how to treat the customer. He was all about service and keeping things really clean and organized and tidy, and pretty much when I think of myself, that's what I do to this day, is
absolutely
keep that level of class. And, it was near Palm Springs, so we had a lot of high-end customers as well, so I got to see how you worked with that type of people, coming in there with Jags and Rolls Royces and whatnot, you know. So, yeah, my uncle was a huge influence.
That's super interesting to me. I like knowing the backstory. I mean, I'm sure a lot of times when people talk to you, they just want to know about Yoopershirts and talk about Yoopershirts, and there's more to the story there. So I like kind of peeling back the onion, so to speak, and getting that kind of that side of the story. So that's an interesting take.
For sure.
Speaking of Yoopershirts, though, so I know you officially launched it in 2009, but do you want to talk a little bit about like what got you to that point, like how that kind of came together?
Yeah, I just been working like freelance graphic design. I can't even remember the year that I really got my first chance to play around with Adobe Photoshop.
Okay.
And I always wanted to design. I was making stuff in like Word or wherever you could.
Sure.
When we were in the late 90s and stuff. But yeah, when I got into Photoshop, that was really what took it, took things to another level. I could see what I could create, and I was painting t-shirts for a while, hand painting t-shirts and selling those, and freelance graphic design, and then I decided to go back to Northern. Go to take their graphic communications classes.
Very cool.
So I went back for like a year and a half. I think that was like maybe 2008 or 2007, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And I took a bunch of art classes finally, so stuff that I liked.
Yeah.
I actually went to school. I went to class.
Perfect.
And I got good grades, great grades. And I kind of like saw, just how like it was good to learn a little bit more of organization and what to do with, how to prepare, different tasks for clients in a sense, but they're just your projects for, the class. And so that kind of like inspired me. I'm like, if I'm doing this kind of stuff, like I can do this. So pretty much I just dropped out. I don't want to go back to school. I took all the, art classes that I wanted. I was inspired. I was motivated. And I kind of just went out on my own again. And then I found out my wife was pregnant. And I was like, man, I got to do something with myself, So I just started working with shirts and was thinking of ideas of UP stuff. I saw other companies that did it. I thought I could take it to another level, though.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's pretty much what started that.
You brought up a great point I love that you said when you started taking art classes, you started doing like really well and you started caring. Spigs kind of brought up, I don't know if you listened to my episode with Spigs.
A little bit, yeah.
But yeah, he brought up the fact that he wasn't the greatest student, but once he started taking classes on something that he actually like interested him and like he cared about, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm like engaged. My grades are going up. I'm like crushing it. I just think that that's really interesting. The whole like finding that passion, because really that's what college is about.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. The majority of people that go to college probably have zero clue what they want to do. But once you figure it out, it's like that light bulb moment, Yeah,
I mean, it was like 9 years or longer than that, over 10 years after I graduated high school that I went to Northern again.
Sure.
But, I was in like 28 years old. I still didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I wanted to be creative, but I needed more structure. and Northern help with that. They have a great art and design program.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So 2009 rolls around, and you decide to you're gonna do something with this. You're gonna launch Yoopershirts. So you started with just the website, correct? You didn't have, or did you have a storefront right off the bat?
No storefront, yeah, just a website. I actually started it through Graphics by Designers, my graphics company that I was doing freelance work under, and I started it there. And then I saw, created one shirt and just try to get a little momentum. And that was when Facebook was just getting really popular. With everybody was signing up at that time,
Sure.
So I tried to use that, sell some shirts, reinvest the money, and then just keep doing new products. So it was all online for the first year and a half.
Sure.
And then I finally opened up a small retail shop in West Ishpeming.
Awesome. Whereabout in West Ishpeming was that?
Shell Station.
Okay, so it was at the Shell Station.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because
I think
that's before I moved up here, because I moved up late 2009 is when I moved up. Or maybe you were already in there and I just didn't realize it yet. And I had seen the website, but I didn't really, you and I didn't meet, and I didn't really become familiar with, like the movement that you had going until you moved to your next spot at the Chamber of Commerce.
Yep, shared the space with the Chamber,
Yeah.
So I was only in the Shell probably for like 3 months, maybe 4 months.
Sure.
Yeah,
so humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings, yeah. I was scared to open up a shop, I was really nervous. I was like, it was like $200 rent because I split it with somebody else, and at that time, I had no money. I literally started Yoopershirts with $100, and just invested that in domain name, get some shirts, use Facebook, go, and push it, man, and see what happens.
Yeah.
I had nothing to lose, everything to gain.
Absolutely.
At that time.
That's exciting, though. I mean,
was.
The old saying, $1 in a dream. I mean, it was a little more than that. It was $100, but still, I mean, just going for it.
I like to say $100 in a dream. Man.
Right? Yeah, for sure. So you moved to the Ishpeming, Nagani Chamber building there on the highway. What were those days like for you? Because, I mean, I think that was right around when you actually got, your screen printing stuff, and you really started to kind of... That was the transition phase
You know the story, don't you? You probably know it better than me, because I forget. I live it. That's... So I got... my sister, Tracy... took a risk and invested in me, gave me, a good amount of money to get screen printing equipment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here today without her, all my family, all my, and friends. But yeah, she invested screen printing equipment for us, and I put that in the house that I was living at. It was my mom's house in Marquette. I put it in the basement.
Sure.
So then I had to get somebody to work the retail.
Yeah.
In Ishpeming, because I was going to learn how to screen print. I got all this equipment now.
Yeah.
I've watched hundreds of hours on YouTube. That's how I learned how to screen print.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't really know anybody else where I could just go in there and, hey, can you teach me to screen print?
See, I thought maybe you would have learned down at Shirt Tales, because I know the Shirt Tales.
They never wanted to let me.
They never wanted to let you screen print?
No, I think they saw the drive that I had, because when I first met them, they were like, you should come down to Iron Mountain and sometime, because I made a design for Carney NATO.
Sure.
And they got their shirts printed from Shirt Tales. They called me and said, hey, we need this artwork changed or whatever. And they were like, we really like this artwork.
Yeah.
And I told them, I had this idea for Yoopershirts, I'm going to get a bunch of shirts.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 which every screen printer always hears that. Yeah, I'm going to do a few right now, but I'm going to do 100 down the line or thousands.
Sure.
And so he was like, yeah. Come down sometime. Next morning I went there. Don't invite me someplace. I'm ambitious. I want to see, maybe I'll learn how to print some shirts.
Right.
This was right when I started Yoopershirts, but
I just love that.
They never taught me.
But I still love that, just because, number one, it shows how hungry you were, but number two, it's that 6 degrees of separation, because the guys that owned Shirt Tales were really good friends of my dad's, and so when I was a kid, I sat in that basement and folded shirts for hours.
Really?
Oh, for hours on end. So like
Yeah.
my dad would go down there and play cribbage in the basement with all the guys that worked there, and they'd, watch college sports and shoot the breeze, and I'd be like, oh, I really want like that shirt that was up there. Well, just be a whatever shirt. They'd be like, well, if you fold 3 boxes of shirts while you're down here, we'll give you, whatever shirt you wanted upstairs.
Nice.
So that was like
making you work for it.
Yeah, like making me work for it. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so I can fold a shirt better than just about anybody. I put my folding skills up against just about anybody. Cause
all right, I'm gonna have to. We'll have to test it out before we leave here.
Okay, we'll go up and fold shirts when we're done.
Right.
But okay, so you started the screen printing in your mom's basement.
Yeah.
And you started the retail spot. So did you hire just one person off the bat? Or, did you hire a couple? What did that side of it look like? Because that's like a whole new realm. Not only are you just learning how to okay, now I'm learning how to screen print, but now you've got like employees. It's a transition.
It was a transition. I believe Tony was my first guy that I hired. I really can't remember, if time flies. Having an employee, that was a new thing, but I needed somebody at the store, and I needed a print, and I was determined
so you're just
to make it work.
Just winging it? Like, You watch the store, I'm gonna rip some shirts out? And...
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I was still using my cell phone number as our company phone number then too, so
I believe you were, and that's right around the time that I met you, and so you and I would kind of run into each other all the time at different places,
right?
And it's funny, the hat that I'm wearing actually is one of my favorite stories of why I'll always kind of support you guys. Is I came in and tried this hat on, but it was a snapback.
All right.
And you were like, oh, how do you like it? And I'm like, I don't really wear snapbacks, man. It's just not my style. I'm more of a fitted hat guy. And you're like, oh, that's cool. Thanks for stopping in the shop or whatever. I ran into you probably a month later, not even at the store. It was somewhere. And you're like, hey, I got a hat for you. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're like, I have that same hat, same color and fitted, and I have it for you. I got that hat. And I was just like blown away that, number one,
right.
that you remembered me, but number two, that you had this fitted hat set aside that I liked. And that kind of goes back to like that customer service that you talked about.
Most
that
definitely.
you learned from your uncle, which again, I kind of getting off on a side tangent, but just a fun story from your early days. So
it's a sweet hat too.
It is. I
love seeing it because we only made those for a very limited time.
Yes.
That's kind of how we wanted them.
Yeah.
And I probably have a few color options, but
sure.
I keep them in a box and hidden away, That's awesome.
I almost wore my super OG shirt today that's got Izzo and Volker and...
Yeah.
That's the super OG, but I only take that out. I'm probably going to wear it tomorrow today on 906 Day, since this is coming out on 906. But
right.
I'm probably going to break that out for 906 Day because that's the perfect day to wear it, because that's the Dynasty shirt.
That's exactly. You remember the name? Yeah, Dynasty. Yeah, that was many years ago.
I get
at least 7 years ago, maybe 8.
And anytime I wear that, I get tons of questions because not everybody knows all the names on the shirt.
Yeah.
Which is fun because then I can kind of like give a little history lesson because I'm a history buff.
Right, yeah.
So that's fun too. But so the transition, so right around that time that I'm talking about here, and this is getting close to 2013, obviously you kind of continue to grow and grow. That's when you opened your space, at the old Gossard building.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, about kind of making that transition and how that kind of came about? Because, again, that was another giant step forward.
Yeah, it's a lot of steps. Like I said, my mom's house that I lived at, and we printed in the basement. Then we finally moved the equipment to the chamber location.
Yeah. And
then we were printing in there. But then that just became too small. And we had to keep my dark room in Marquette. So then I had to go back and forth. Switch that, put a print shop in at Superior Design, even before the Gossard.
Oh, I did not know that.
I had a print shop in Superior Design because I bought a bigger press.
Sure.
So I had 2 presses now, one in the chamber, one at Superior Design,
okay.
And then the dark room in Marquette. And
wow.
Anybody who's running a business, it's all about being efficient and increasing productivity. So I was like, all right, I got to take all these and combine it.
For sure.
So I was like looking for spaces in Ishpeming, and just randomly went down to the Gossard building, just wanted to check it out. It was like, we'll see, you know.
Right.
Walked in there, looked to the left, saw this huge wide open space, had one wall that kind of separated it, but it all connected, and I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Went up immediately, asked for Paul Arsenault, and said, hey, what are you doing with that space? You know, I'd love to have that space. And he was like, yeah, I'll be available in like a month or two. So then got the space, remodeled it probably for a month or maybe a month and a half, 2 more months, get it exactly how we wanted. That way we had the retail and then we had the production all in one space.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. I loved it. Like being in Ishpeming, remodeling this really beautiful building, you know. We got rid of carpet,
right? Yeah, you had the hardwood floors, and you guys decked it out. I mean,
brick wall was painted pink, you know, like this beautiful original brick wall from the early 1900s, you know, like painted pink. Like I had to remove that paint immediately. It was like the first thing I had to do and get the carpet out. Let's get these floors back, and I'm really into that kind of design too, not just like graphic design and clothing and whatnot, you know, like interior design and how you can take this space and make it really cool and unique. And I love that space. We could go on and on because this story keeps going.
I know, and and I love that space too. Just what you did with it, like you said, taking an old building that had good bones and just making it really, really cool, really attractive, making it a spot to stop. There's this idea of, in a lot of towns across the UP, like making a destination type of thing. I mean, that it became like a destination. It helped that you had your giant A-team bus outside.
Yeah.
For a lot of that stretch.
It did bring a lot of people to Ishpeming, and you know, I feel bad for still coming to Marquette, you know, but you know, I had to do what I had to do.
For sure. Well, so obviously once you hit there and you were in that storefront, I mean, you were there it wasn't like it was overnight, like that you outgrew that place or like that you had to make the switch. No. It was 4 years, but it was 4 years of like of booming as far as like I'm concerned. I mean, do you remember how many employees you added once you hit that? I mean, was it
when we were in the Gosford, we only had 5 was max.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. But still, I mean, you went from basically in a 4-year period, you went from like you by yourself to 1 employee, and all of a sudden there's 5. I mean, that's significant growth for especially somebody
in a few years.
Yeah. So I think that's cool too. But
yeah, no, it is cool.
So
I don't, you know what I mean? I don't think about it. I just live it. Like,
well,
it is cool, but like you just need more people. Hey, we got to do more stuff. Let's go. Hire another person. Let's go.
But maybe that's to your benefit that you don't overthink it.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. I just feel you feel it. If you need it, you need it. You know. It's time.
Yeah. So as of May of last year, so 2017, you basically decided to switch to production only out in Ishpeming and pick up this space where we're sitting here on 3rd Street. What kind of prompted that decision to come about?
I always thought about coming to Marquette. You know, I even considered keeping both shops, you know, many years ago.
Sure.
And then I kind of just was like, whatever, you know, I love Ishpeming. This is working out great. Production space was getting pretty tight. Mm-hmm. It was. So we needed to kind of think about doing something. And the Jones boys that own Casualties approached me and just were, hey, we want to come to a meeting. Didn't know what it was about. Kind of assumed that it was maybe something with the building. Sure. And then I came here and they were like, hey, you want to buy this building from us? We're planning to close Casualties in like a couple months, and we think you'd be a great fit.
Passing the torch, so to speak.
Yeah, because they care about their customers. You know, everybody that has purchased from Casualties over 16 plus years,
right?
They cared about all of those people, so they kind of want to pass the torch, like you said.
Yeah. And
they're like, yeah, you know, similar business, people like your stuff. You know, what do you think? You should make this move. And I thought about it, you know, a little bit, and you know, plenty of details and paperwork and lawyers and all that fun stuff later. You know, it took a few months to make it happen. They wanted to do it kind of in the new year, and so did I. That's when I could focus on it after the busy Christmas season. So then I bought the building in February.
Very cool.
Excuse me.
So that's kind of a good segue, because I know when you purchased the building and you kind of moved in, not everybody was super happy about it. Not that there was like a ton of backlash. That's not even a word to describe it, but enough to where you at least felt you needed to explain yourself.
Yes.
So I don't even need to know.
Because I care.
Well, because you care.
I care what people think, and I care what people feel, and I love where I come from, and Ishpeming means everything to me, and I don't want people to feel like I'm giving up on Ishpeming, because I'm not.
No, not in
That's where I live.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, that's where you call home.
Yeah.
And it'll always be home, you know, regardless of where life takes you. But so as far as other challenges that you've had throughout the years, because obviously not everything is like sunshine and rainbows. I mean,
not at all.
You've had your fair share of imitators over the years. I'll just use the word imitators. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about some of that type of stuff? I mean, obviously I don't expect you to like start naming names or anything like that.
No, I wouldn't, you know.
I guess imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yeah.
But
that's a thing I've learned a lot about over the years, you know, like copyrights and copyright infringement and whatnot, you know. I've made my mistakes, you know, too. And a lot of times people just make mistakes, and maybe they're not familiar with your work, and, you know, and maybe they don't know that certain things are copywritten and protected, you know. Our 906 design specifically is one that gets stolen or whatever, misused, let's say. Often I try to send people emails and say, hey, we don't want to get this. Let's not get this into an ugly legal matter. You know, I don't want to be like, I'm not a bully about it. I'm just trying to protect my, you know, design that I originally came up with. So
you bring up a great point that maybe not everybody is familiar with your work, or maybe they aren't familiar with how the whole copyright process works. I can relate to that just from when I put out Y is for Yooper, because the artwork, I was basically, when I first, because it started off as a class project when I was at Central, I was just pulling Google images and throwing them into a document, like when I first created it, because it was just for a class. I wasn't like trying to, you know, make any money off of it. As I got further down that process of like, okay, like actually getting a copyright for this book, it's like, okay, I either need like royalty-free imaging, or I'm going to have somebody illustrate this. And talk about a learning experience. I mean, I had to like immerse myself. By the end of it, I felt like I had like an associate's in copyright law. Like,
you probably could tell me a lot. So
just like trying to kind of wrap my head around that. But it's just interesting. Another thing, and I don't know if this is even a challenge that you've had. It's what I would think would probably be a challenge for you. And I would think maybe like, I don't know if oversaturation is the right word, but maybe like how you can only recreate the wheel so many times. Like how many things can you just throw a 906 on or throw a UP logo on? I mean, is that a legit challenge for you?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. You know, so I'm always like digging deep into like, I don't want to give away too many secrets here, you know. I don't know who's listening. Right? But you guys might want to take my secrets.
Yeah.
No, like, hey, you know, make what you feel, make what you live, you know, and be inspired. And I love creating new stuff. And, you know, some days I have nothing, and some days I can't stop. The ideas pouring out of me. So a friend of mine had said that, like, how many, you know, years ago, how many shirts are you going to be really able to make? You know, like, how many things can you put the UP on? And I said, you'd be surprised. I got plenty still.
Yeah, well, and I would agree with that. What I think you do.
It's more than the silhouette, let's say. Yeah. I'll let everybody know that.
Well, definitely. But I think you do a great job of also keeping up with fashion trends.
Yeah.
So maybe, it's still the, like, whatever logo or the UP or the 906, but because fashion changes. I mean, not to knock anybody else out there that's doing what they're doing, but I just think back to, like what I would call like a tourist t-shirt.
Yeah.
You know, that's got like a wolf like howling at the moon, but then it just says like wherever it's from, and it could, and you would see those across the United States. It might be like Jackson Hole, Wyoming, or
you change the location.
Yeah, but
it's new shirt.
Yeah. So you know, like I said, I think you do a really good job of kind of keeping up with what's fresh, as the kids say. I'm not a kid anymore, so it sounds weird using like that lingo. But.
Right. You know, I hear you. Yeah. No, I'm getting old, but I love fashion and art and design. You know, I pay attention to a lot of different street brands, but you know, really big clothing companies as well. You know, from you know, Patagonia. You know, you got to occasionally check out what they're doing, but then at the same time, I'm going to do Ilthy, which is a company out of Cleveland. You know, a streetwear company, and just tons of different brands. You know, I want to look cool too,
right?
So I basically have always said I make stuff for me, you know.
Yes.
But more of a challenge now is that, you know, obviously, if I just make it for me, then you know, there's only so many people that are going to buy it. So I got to think outside of the box a little.
Sure.
You know, I'm definitely getting into like sketching more.
Yeah.
Some of these sketches that I have here. And I'm trying to give myself time to like really dabble into what I used to do.
I really like that one with the flag. I like if that was on
the Look North one.
If that was on like a shirt or like a 3/4 like baseball tee, I'd walk out of here with it right now.
So that's the Northwear brand that I'm working on.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. That's a perfect segue, because as we were talking about you kind of like coming up with new things. So now your most recent project that you have right now is this Northwear.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk just a little bit? Explain what Northwear is. I mean, you're wearing the hat. You've got a couple of the sketches up.
Yeah,
I mean,
right. So yeah. Basically what I just said is like I want to make stuff that's really cool and that I like. And I've made a ton of UP stuff. Now I just want to dabble into areas that is a little different. You know, and makes me fulfilled.
Sure.
Like, and it doesn't feel like it has to be just Upper Peninsula,
right,
or Michigan, or any of that theme. You know, I've lived in many places in the United States.
Sure.
I want to reach more customers. I want to reach more people. Yeah. You know, I want to sell more gear. I want to make more stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm not in it for the money, but I need money to be in it.
Right.
Is what I say.
Perfect. Yeah. That's a perfect saying.
It is, because that's what fuels it. Like, I'm here because people supported Yoopershirts tremendously. I've worked really hard. I've had great employees and friends working with me and get us to where we're at. I want to keep growing this. I'm not somebody who's going to just settle and be like, yeah, this is cool. You know, I have 8 employees. I got to pay myself. Yeah, all this stuff. No, I want to keep going. I want to have 40 employees. I want to have 100 employees. So Northwear Co. Is the legal name of the company. I want to really grow that into a brand that's known all throughout the United States and beyond. I mean, Yoopershirts is known throughout the United States as well. But I think I can reach more people, and I want my art to reach more people. So that's basically why I'm doing Northwear. That's still working on Yoopershirts all the time, though, too. I like to juggle things.
Even if
I'm a Gemini.
Even if you weren't, it's just super exciting to hear you talk about it, because you've got so much passion behind it. But to me, it's a genius concept, because, like, to describe it to anybody that, and let's just say someone hasn't been to your website, I would tell them it's like a cross between Supreme and Patagonia.
Wow, cool.
That's how I would describe it when I look at it. So it's like streetwear meets you're getting out in the woods, you're getting outdoors, you're getting after it or whatever.
And so that's what I like. That's who I am, I think. So
and so to me that's genius. And that's just one of, like, okay, you've started this kind of brand over here, but another thing that I really wanted to talk to you about is the project that you have going with the DNR.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's super awesome, and it's like a whole separate lane in and of itself. How did that deal even, like, come about? Did they approach you? I mean, how did everything with the DNR even come around?
Randomly, I got an email from a customer or somebody who knew about us and what we did. I can't think of his name at the moment. Sorry if you're listening. But yeah, he emailed me and he said, "Hey, I think this would be pretty cool if you guys did." It was like a listing for the DNR is looking for partners.
Yeah.
And I was like, he was like, "Hey, I think this is a cool thing. You guys should do it, And so I did it. I filled out everything, whatever. It was like a year-long process,
Wow.
But yeah, we went down there for like a little meeting, and we brought a bunch of gear, like samples. We printed out.
Where's down there? Where did you?
Near Traverse City.
Okay, so near.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. That's all right. I'm not even for the people listening. I'm just curious as to where you headed to. Okay, so near Traverse City.
Yeah, like I'm sure it was in Traverse City. I don't know. Traverse City's pretty big, but. Yeah, we went down there and they met with a bunch of different companies. So yeah, my buddy Dave and I went and kind of did our pitch.
Yeah.
And it was cool,
Was it like Shark Tank?
It kind of did feel like Shark Tank.
Really?
Yeah,
I was joking around.
It was kind of a big rectangle table though, and we sat across, four ladies who were trying to grill us and see what we got going on. And
so you had designs and sketches and stuff? Or?
Yeah. Put a couple designs together before we went, and we printed them on some shirts and brought some different apparel that we had down there to let them see the quality and whatnot.
Sure.
Yeah, and that went good. And they got back to us and yeah, we'll be in touch, and it was a new process for them, so it took a while.
Yeah.
And then a year later, we had to do an actual bid to get it, and that took probably like a month, and then we found out one day, hey, we won the bid. So
awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got stuff for. So what are the different locations?
We started with Tequamanon Falls.
Yep.
Yeah, that was like our first park that we wanted to kind of touch base on.
Yep.
And get some ideas going. And then Blueberry Ridge.
Yep.
So we just did, it's a small little trail, but, it's right here in our backyard. We thought that would be cool to do. And then we just did like a little bit of Van Riper this summer.
Yep.
We have plenty of parks to go. I know a lot of people are wondering, like, when are you going to do our park? Basically, what we need people to do is tell their parks to be in touch with us, and we'll make them their gear.
Very cool.
And it's going to happen slowly but surely. Yeah. A lot of plans coming up, to where everybody's new to this, on how these partnerships are supposed to work.
Yeah.
Peninsulas is the company that won the Lower Peninsula bid.
Yeah, they do some pretty cool stuff too. Yeah, shout out to those guys.
Yeah, for sure. And then Yoopershirts won all of the parks in the Upper Peninsula. So that's our focus.
And there's just a few parks.
Right, yeah, because it's everything: trails, waterways, and the parks. So, and then a portion of those proceeds of all the gear that we make is going right back to the DNR.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's all about raising money and awareness for the parks. Getting the DNR some of this funding. Yeah. A lot of companies make Tequamanon shirts, but they're not giving cuts to the DNR. So this is a legal way. We signed a legal contract.
For sure.
We will give you this money every year, and that's exciting for me because I love where we live and where we're from. So to be able to give back to the parks like that is awesome. And we're like I said, we're still learning, but we're gonna get better at it, and we're gonna be knocking out a bunch of more parks and creating really cool stuff. So it's coming.
Very, very, very cool.
Yeah.
So I also noticed with the park stuff, and you've actually done this for a long time, but I guess maybe I noticed it especially more, is not just clothing. You had like patches, and you have like flags, and so you kind of talked a little bit about, you have other stuff besides just clothing that you do. You've got coffee cups, and there's candles and stickers, and I mean
accessories. Sunglasses. We sell a lot of sunglasses, stickers. Stuff like that. Yeah,
my favorite's always the hats. I'm
a hat guy. You're not going to see me without a hat too often, and if you do, it's I'm dressed up for a special occasion. So yeah, that's why we did the hat wall here. And a little tribute to the Casualties guys. They always had a really nice hat wall here. And me being a hat guy, I had to have a hat wall.
I was gonna bring that up before when you mentioned, their customers over 16 years. That was the one thing that I would purchase from here when they were doing their thing, was coming in and checking out the hat wall, because it was, for a hat, if you're a hat fan, it was a sight to see. For sure.
Yeah, and they did a lot of sports teams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, all of ours are UP themed or Michigan themed or now Northware.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like a challenge. I was like, I don't want to sell other brands. I want to make stuff that we design.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I mean, you have all of this clothing that fills this entire store. Like, yeah, that's what you do, but you still do graphic design. You still do screen printing for people, all
the time. Yeah, that's a huge part of our business.
Absolutely,
screen printing and graphic design. I have 4 guys that work at our production facility in Ishpeming, so they're constantly staying busy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome, because
shout out to those guys.
Yes, shout out to them. I mean, nobody ever wants to know how the the hamburger's made, but I mean, that's
we wouldn't have the hamburger without them,
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Huge to this. Yeah.
Well, and I love that you guys you'll do some embroidery stuff. Like, I got a chromer last year and for deer hunting, and I wanted it for hunting season. I wanted my family camp name on it, and I brought it to you guys. I wasn't sure, and you guys got it done just how I wanted it. And then
glad we did. Appreciate it.
I had it at deer camp, and I had like so many compliments over my week at deer camp.
Just made that chromer that much better.
It did. Accessorizing and making it was a nice collaboration between 2 UP companies.
Yeah, that's hard to do because Stormy Chromer is awesome. So
they're
amazing company.
They are. So one other project that I want to talk to you about, and it's not even necessarily your project, you're just kind of pseudo involved, but the 906 pledge.
Yeah.
I saw stuff on our way in here. That's coming up tomorrow is the big party. That's I shouldn't say tomorrow. It's happening today, since this is coming out on 906.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tonight from 5:30 to 7 at the Hampton Inn, we're having the 906 pledge party. And so you basically provided the shirts for that, right?
Yeah. We didn't design anything for it. And we do that a lot with the custom screen printing. So they supplied us with the design. We gave them a good price on the shirts so that they can, raise as much money as possible. So yeah, we printed a few hundred for them.
Yeah.
And then to be a little more involved, Dylan, my sales guy, and I discussed. I was like, let's print 100 shirts. We didn't charge them. We printed 100 shirts, put them in the store here.
Sure.
And are trying to sell them and help them raise money that way.
Awesome. And it's
that's kind of our involvement.
Yeah, and it's such a great cause, whether you've
For sure.
Had to use Beacon House's services or not. Just having a place where, if God forbid, you or somebody is in the hospital up here in a bad situation, you have a nice place to lay your head at night that's close by, or if you need to be there for somebody, you can. So if you're out there listening and you can make it to the party, or you want to donate or take the 906 pledge, and the 906 pledge is just $9.06 is the pledge. If we all pitch in $9.06, it's going to add up really quick.
Yeah.
So huge shout out to them.
Most definitely.
One other thing I want to talk to you about, and it caught my eye just now, and I can't believe I almost was gonna completely breeze by it.
Oh, jeez.
You're not just a designer. You're not just a businessman. You're not just a screen printer. You, sir, are an actor.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to talk about your acting debut in Waiting for Wig?
Waiting for Wig, yeah. Sure, I guess.
We've got to plug it. The DVD just came out. They're here at the shop, so pick one up or get one online. You can get them at a ton of shops all over the place. But the DVD just came out, so support these guys.
Yeah, waitingforwig.com.
Yes.
Waiting for Wig. Yeah, it's my buddy Aaron Yunker and Kyle Hulkinen. They got me involved in it, and just said, we're gonna make this movie and you're in it. And I'm like, okay. I didn't know what to expect of it. It was kind of a little overwhelming, you know?
Sure.
I was like, I don't really want to be in a movie, you know? But
you
I
never
kind
had
of do.
You never had a desire to act?
Yeah, no, I mean, a little bit.
A little bit? Okay.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. But not really. Now I'm like, wait, we're really going to do this, you know? So I kind of backed out on some parts when they started shooting it. But then I kind of got the bug when I was hanging out on set, and I was like, all right, put me back in. I was like, come on, coach, put me in. So, yeah, luckily Kyle had to rewrite some things and got me in it. I had very few small parts.
Right.
But I was there to help those guys with designing little logos and
Sure.
whatnot, you know, and making their stuff look legit and, you know, help them out that way.
So, for anybody who hasn't seen or knows what this is about, just without giving away like the movie or anything, it's essentially people waiting around for Stephen Wigg.
Stephen Wigg, yeah, Nagani native.
Yes.
You know,
who was
assistant to Lars Ulrich, you know, in Metallica and
Yeah.
all that, you know.
He's been in a bunch of movies. He's in Into the Wild and quite a few other movies he's been in.
Yeah,
So,
shout out to Steve Wigg, yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, anyways, when Wigg comes home, you know, from he lives in California,
Sure.
so when he comes back to the UP, you know, he'll tell you, hey, I'll be there an hour. Well, he's on Wigg time. Wigg times, that might be 3 hours, 4 hours. For one, he's already 3 hours difference, time schedule. Let alone then being back in town, and he's got family and things to do. So basically, it's just a story about a bunch of people waiting around for Steve.
Sure.
That's it. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. You know, so go and check it out. But
most definitely.
Complete side note: I've never met this guy before. You said your buddy's name is Kyle Hulkinen.
Yeah.
That it's like the Finnish Hulkster. It sounds like, which is like the coolest. Like
it's a great last name.
Yeah, it could be like a Finnish wrestler for sure. Like Hulkinen.
Right.
Totally side note. I just figured I'd throw that in there. But
right.
So, would you say it's the projects like Northward Cone kind of figuring out that next step? Is that the type of stuff that like keeps you going day after day? I mean, it would be very easy to get complacent and be like, you know, I can keep just rocking the shirts that I've got. They're selling, you know, the products that I've got, I'm moving them. People like it. But you're still challenging yourself in different ways. And you have continued to do that. Is that what kind of keeps you going, is trying that different stuff to see what you can make happen?
Most definitely. Yeah, that's everything. I actually said that earlier. I said I could just stop right now and just stay at the level that we're at right now and be good.
For sure.
You know, like be happy and everything and not have to worry anything about. But no, I hired a graphic designer today. So that's what I did today.
Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, I've needed one. I had somebody doing graphic design work, and she moved back downstate. So I needed to fill that spot again. Sure. But part of me wanted to just say, you know, I'm not going to hire anybody. I'll go back to doing all of it. But I have too many things I want to do, you know? Yes, it's basically just being creative and, like, making stuff. I just like making stuff. Like, I can't wait to, like, you know, take this drawing and make it on a shirt, and then but like once I get that shirt, I'm kind of like, all right, cool, I did it, what's next? So I have like a real short, like, so things just keep pushing me and motivating me. I don't really know where it comes from or why. I just like making stuff, cool stuff that I think people would like and that I think is cool, and that's what I'm motivated by. I love what I do, and that's the most important thing, you know. That's why I own my own business, because I love it.
I feel like you just described myself back to me, because I feel that I'm very, very similar. When I came up with the Why is for Yooper book, like literally when that book came out, people would ask, like almost right away as that first book was coming out, when are you putting out the next one? And not that it would be easy to do, but if I put my time and my energy towards it, I know that I could sit down and come up with something cool that people would like again, and I you know, I'm fairly confident it would be successful.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I don't want to like pigeonhole myself as like that guy that just makes the Yooper books. And it's more so like I didn't create that book just because I like books. I created it because I like to create.
Yeah.
And stuff that's
great idea.
Yeah,
too.
Stuff that people will like.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said,
we need more of them actually to sell here. Sold out.
Well, I'll put it in order. When we're done here,
let the guy know.
Yeah, perfect. But like you said with your shirt, you're like, okay, I created this shirt, great, awesome. What's the next thing?
Yeah.
I feel the exact same way. I hit a goal and then I'm like, okay, cool. What's next?
Yeah.
So, with my book, it's coming on like 4-year run now here.
Wow.
Yeah, almost 4 years that I've still been running with it. I've continued to kind of have the itch, like what's the next thing? And this podcast has been that next thing.
I love it.
And so I'm having an absolute blast with it. And
keep going, man. Keep going.
I'm trying to. And it ties back to what you talked about, like when you first kind of like found Photoshop.
Right.
I have to give a shout out to some of my high school teachers, Nick Guyan and Jeff Harry. Nick had a class that was strictly like early website stuff and playing around on Photoshop and like editing photos and different things. So I found like a love of that and creating on that side. And in Jeff Harry's class, it was a digital video editing class. So it was doing stuff like what you and I are doing right now, or creating videos, or even just doing the announcements at school. So camera work, audio stuff, like all of that. And
I love all that stuff.
Yeah, you just like catch the bug.
Yeah.
And it's exciting and it's fun, but at the end of the day, it all kind of just comes back to, like you said, creating something that people like and that you yourself like too, that you can be proud of.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and I stick with the same thing. Like, your podcast can keep growing and growing and growing, and I love that. So you could take something from like a baby and watch it grow.
Yeah.
I love that. I love seeing taking something from nothing and making something.
Yeah.
That's basically my inspiration.
Yeah. My first start with this was I sat down and I just made a list. I was like, if I could talk to some people around the UP, like just sit and have a convo with, who would I want to talk to?
Yeah.
And I started writing down some names, and all of a sudden, so all of a sudden it was like I have a page. Well, then it was like, well, now I've got like 2 pages, and I'm like, okay. So
nice.
Then and now, like people all the time are sending me messages like, hey, you should talk to so and so, or I see like, oh, such thing is going on, like some festival or some project that somebody's working on, and I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool too. And it's like there's so much going on in the Yoop, just everywhere, that it's exciting. It gets me fired up, and because there's, like you said, there's a lot of growth that can happen with this.
Yeah, nothing's gonna stop. Things are gonna just keep going, like events and not just individuals, but like covering events and all these things. I mean, you love learning about it too. So.
I do. I get to combine.
You get a little insight because now you got a podcast that you'd be like, oh yeah, come along.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a
door is open.
Yeah, press credential. Maybe like the old bowler hats that had the press thing. Maybe you can design for me a press.
We should do that. That's good. I want to see a press hat.
Oh, that's legit. Okay,
nice,
so my one final question, and if you've listened to the podcast, you already know what this question is going to be. Ketchup or gravy on your pasty?
Oh, I'm ketchup.
Ketchup all the way?
Yeah. We got something fun coming out with this idea in mind, so I'll tune you in.
Very cool. Off the record.
Off the record. You know.
Okay.
So what to expect. Yeah, I'm a ketchup guy.
Okay. That's fair.
Ketchup.
What I need to do, I think I'm going to have to either on like the Facebook page or something, is I'm going to have to keep a running tally of everybody's votes, because it's been a little bit all over the board.
Really?
But yeah. And what's funny, the other thing too is like, if I run into somebody that knows me that's listened to the podcast, they like make it a point to tell me what their pasty preference is.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast. This has been an awesome interview. And really, I just want to thank you too. I mean, one last story here to kind of wrap things up is when I first printed Y is for Yooper, you were the first person to sell it. I mean,
awesome.
Yeah, it was available online, but you were the first person that said, hey, let me know what I can do to help you out. So
yeah.
I appreciate you kind of
You're welcome.
helping me along the way.
That. Yeah.
Because, I mean, you were in the position at that time where you had grown from just this one-man shop, so you could see the hustle and respect it. And so
definitely.
I very much appreciate you giving me that opportunity.
You're welcome. Yeah, I was proud to be part of it.
Yeah, it's crazy to think back of how long ago that was.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 4 years.
It's wild. Wow. It's wild. But again,
nice work, man.
Thank you, and thank you for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, bud.
Okay, it's time for the takeaways from my chat with Symons. The first is the idea of pursuing your passion. Symons has always had a passion to create, and he found a way to capitalize on that to its fullest potential. If you can find something that stirs the coals in your belly every day, then in my opinion, you've found what you're looking for. Pursue it with all you've got. My second takeaway is the idea of finding a lane. Jeremy took his creativity and he combined it with his love for the UP, but he did it in a way that hadn't quite been done before. He put his own unique spin on it. If you can look for lanes and fill voids that are empty, you can instantly become a commodity. My last takeaway from my chat with Symons is really just his overall energy to keep going forward. It's infectious, and it's a great representation of what I call the Yooper spirit. Some of you might call it Sisu. He took a few dollars in a dream and he went after it, even though the odds weren't exactly in his favor. And so, on this 906 day, I challenge everyone listening to this to do the same. Whether it's personal, business, or even just a hobby. Find that Yooper spirit inside of you and get after it. Happy 906 day, everyone. Chat It Up is a bi-weekly podcast about all things Upper Peninsula of Michigan. If you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, and leave me a review. You can also find Chat It Up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for listening in. I'm your host, Shooter, reminding you to keep your chin up and your eyes forward.